Welcome to Charts Today. My name's David Linton, and today's edition for Wednesday, the 16th of February, comes to you from London. And we start by looking at the dollar. We're seeing a lot of green on the screen this morning, relief as Russia seemingly pulls away from Ukraine. So we're seeing markets just looking a little bit happier, and we've got the dollar index still just moving above the cloud, so long-term bullish, medium-term bullish, and short-term we're still holding the cloud, although we're just falling away a little bit. So this is my weekly, daily and 60-minute with the corresponding point and figure charts, long-term, medium-term and short-term view of the market. That means the euro is weaker, still below the cloud here more clearly. And so we are bearish on all three timeframes. A little bit of a relief rally this morning, but not much. Sterling actually up this morning on inflation numbers. Now new expectations of an interest rate rise in March, but still relatively bearish on that medium-term chart against the dollar. Against the euro, is sitting at 119. Been climbing the last few days in expectation of that inflation number, and we can get above 121. We're then into multi-year highs, so that's quite key for sterling. Bitcoin down 1%, but actually holding that short-term move. Target some 4 and 6% higher on the longer-term charts, and of course the $83,000 target is still very much there. S&P 500 index was up 1.5% yesterday. Of course, the key thing is we are still below the cloud. We do need to be aware that we are at risk of making a lower high, lower low scenario. We've got downside targets. That's what we need to watch. We've also got a little mini upside target there on the this is the 0.5% chart. If we look at that, we've got an upside target and a downside target. So we'd be more bullish back above 4,600, and below 4,300 we'd be bearish, and that's how the targets play out. So we've got to just watch that as well. The futures are down slightly this morning. Looks like the market will open fairly flat and fairly directionless. And looking at the VIX volatility, we're back in the mid-20s, still relatively fearful at that level of fear index. Back below 20, the fear kind of is down, and if we're above 30, we are in fear territory. The FTSE future, not much change this morning, and the DAX in Germany, again, not much changed. Those futures in the US weighing on markets, and of course, most of the move in Europe happened yesterday on the relief of Russia potentially pulling away. We saw Japan up 1.7%, the Hang Seng up 1.5%. The Sensex in India bucked the trend, it was down 0.25%. Hasn't really looked good for a few months here, just rolling over off the top. We still do have some very big upside targets, of course. We need to watch these play out. On the medium-term chart, we've got a clearer picture. The Aussie market was up 1%. Again, it didn't manage to catch the relief rally yesterday, of course, because it was closed, but looking a bit better there. We'll look at the energy mix in a minute. Gold sitting at 1856. The main thing is gold holding that $1,800 level and waving goodbye to the 1700s. And we have got good upside targets here on the chart, so looking pretty key. And most of the other precious metals are up. US 10-year yield sitting at 2.04%. We need to move just a little bit higher to activate the upside targets into the 260s, 270s. That looks certain to happen. So we are just seeing it's a matter of fact that bond yields are pushing to new high levels. And the German Bund future, whilst we're below this, the low in 2021, 167.5, then we are seeing the end of that very long-term trend. Looking at the energy mix, I start by looking at Dutch gas. Of course, gas prices have been very prone to this Russia story, with the potential of Russia turning off gas to Europe in retaliation for sanctions. And so we've seen big falls with that relief yesterday of the tanks pulling back, or the troops pulling back from the Ukraine border. So we saw the markets just move. I have to say that we've been susceptible to this whilst we've been below the cloud all year. So the charts have put us in bearish mode, both on the daily and on the 60-minute. We've been talking about that range of 70, 85 euros. That broke yesterday. We're now looking to this 61 low that we saw back in November. Let's say 60. If we fall below 60 euros, then that's going to be quite key. And in fact, we have put a report out this morning. If you go to your news, which you can click up here, or in data services, if you go to your news, if you're an enterprise user, you will see there's a new report where we give all the price targets for TTF. So that's quite key. Really interesting to see there a head and shoulders pattern, and we've talked about that in the report. So we've given all the new price targets, what this means for TTF. So take a look in your news for that. So let's look at the rest of the mix. We start with Brent crude. It is higher this morning. No way that this run in oil prices is over. We've got a new upside target. The long-term targets are there. And of course, we did actually put out an oil report. How high will the oil price go now? And that was back a month ago today. We put that out, in fact, and we gave all the targets for that as well. So these reports are all there for you to look at in your system. So taking a look at US gas, up 5% this morning, and again we put out a report this morning. If you look at the energy news, in fact if you look at all sources, you'll see today's report is there, today's targets, and we have gone neutral on Brent crude, but again we've given all the price targets there and what needs to happen today. So that's the long-term, medium-term and short-term views of the market. It's really quite key. Coal is looking a bit weaker. It's sitting at 113. Emissions down 3% this morning. It turned out we were bearish there, and that's playing out. And of course, gas prices are still lower. We've had a little bit of a relief rally. But watch these 1 minute charts. They're going to be critical over the coming days, especially when there's lots of uncertainty like this. And MBP similarly, of course. And if we look at German power, down 3% this morning, breaking back below the cloud, and we have got some downside targets there as well. That's it for today. Keep an eye on those price targets on your 1 minute charts. Absolutely critical. Until tomorrow, happy charting. See you then.